Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of March, 2021. I hope you're safe, COVID free, and healthy. I hope your needs are being met. Blessings upon those who are working in the healthcare field to help people save their lives, to help them be healthy, to help them be comfortable. People are dying every day. They say COVID. It may not be COVID. It may be whatever. But those that are helping to try to save their lives, blessings on them in the healthcare field. Blessings also on those that pick up garbage and make deliveries for us, and those that are out here trying to save boys and girls and men and women and children and teenagers from sex trade and sex slave operations going on worldwide. And those also double blessings on those working for the homeless to help people who don't have a roof over their head, who are sleeping in streets, on benches, in parks, in alleys, on grates, in tents. Men, women, boys, girls, veterans. 500,000 plus in the United States, millions worldwide. May this soon end for good. There was a basketball game last night. Tuesday night, the New York Knicks played against the Washington Wizards. And I was at a Wizards-Knicks game here in Washington a year ago. It was one of the last couple of games before they canceled the season. And in that game, what I remember was the Knicks were up at 20 at some point. At some point, both teams were up 20. And when the Knicks, first, I think it was Washington got out to like a double-digit lead, 15, 17 points. And then I knew I was with friends, and I was the only Knicks fan among my friends. Everybody else was either neutral or Washington Wizard. And so I said, they're going to come back. And they did. And then I said, they're going to give up the lead. And they did. Because the Knicks were one of those teams, and generally classified as a bad team, that, a lead is not safe. Anything could happen. They can get a 20-point lead, still lose the game. Or they will put it this way, they will allow the opponent opportunities to get back in the game. Generally, this happens with bad teams. And even in the case of very talented teams like the Brooklyn Nets, it happens because they don't play good defense. And that always gives the other team an opportunity to get back in the game. So last night, the difference was when the Knicks went up by 15 or 20, I was very confident that they would hold the lead. And they did. But at the same time, they still showed, and this is where some of people in Knicks Nation don't understand, this is a developing team. There are things that they are experiencing as a team that they have never experienced before. Okay? With the exceptions of some of the older veterans like a Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson and maybe a Reggie Bullock, and Alibert, pretty much the veterans. The younger guys have never experienced the playoffs, don't know what that's like. Julius Randle, I don't think has ever been in the playoffs, doesn't know what that's like, doesn't understand what it means to really do certain things like finish a game efficiently. And last night, when they got up, I think they were up 25, and they started really joking around, and they started really playing sloppy. And Tibbs got angry, and I was glad he did, because this is not, what you want to do. And then all of a sudden the lead was cut. It was under 20. It was like 15. And I was a little concerned and then Tibbs put the starters back in the game. This is fourth quarter to close it out. And there were some people that questioned, why is he playing the starters? Game was out of hand. No, it's not about whether the game is out of hand. You're in the NBA. Anything could happen, number one. Number two, it's about execution all the way through. You talk about playing 48 minutes of basketball, play 48 minutes of basketball. When the bench crew came in, for garbage time, they were playing serious, right? Because they're getting their time, they're getting their chance, they're playing serious. But the starters really started slacking off, and you don't want to do that, okay? And so this is part of the learning process for the Knicks, understanding now they're a good team. And now the part now we're at the end of this season, they want to start to begin to take a next step to become an excellent team, to become a contending team. Okay. And so I was a little disappointed. In fact, I was a lot disappointed in that. I was very disgusted when I watched it, and I couldn't believe it. And Julius was trying to get 40 so bad that it was a little ridiculous. Like there was a game a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, when Devin Booker scored 70. It was the worst 70-point game or high-scoring game I've ever seen because the game was way out of hand. They were playing Boston. Boston was destroying them. And they were basically letting Devin Booker shoot just to get the points. I don't know. I just think that that's tacky. If somebody scored earlier this season, Julius scored 44, I think, and we needed all 44 points to help us win the game. Okay? That's a real monster game. But to try to get 40 when you're already blowing the team out is just ridiculous. I remember the Iceman, George Gervin, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. There was a day that him and David Thompson were battling for the scoring title. Thompson had scored, I think he scored 73 or something like that game, that day. Gervin needed a certain amount to overtake him and win the scoring championship. I think after 3 quarters, he had 60 something. And he took himself out the game. For what? Why were the game was over. He got the scoring championship. There was no need to just run up the score just because you want to pad your stat. Stat padding. That's what I'm talking about. So Julius, by the time he had 35, the game was over. All he had to do was continue to play efficient ball. And he might have got 40, but, it wouldn't be forced just for stats. That was a little tacky. I didn't like that. I don't like that. And also it's dangerous. You can get hurt in situations like that. Players can get hurt, when the game's out of hand. And it wouldn't be Thibodeau's fault. It really wouldn't. No, play 48 minutes of basketball. That's the next phase for the Knicks. Okay? Be efficient. Execute all the way through. And I believe, I'm saying all this to say, y'all looking at them saying this and that, sometimes you got to recognize this is a developing team. This is the first year of our development, of our rebuild. And so, we really have fast tracked the rebuild, but we still have ways to go. Okay. And so, I'm hoping the next game against Washington, they're more serious in the beginning because Washington's going to make adjustments. Brooks is a good coach. And they're not going to just come in and let you run all over them again the second time. They're going to make adjustments. And so I hope our attitude is execute. Okay. Also, the second thing I noticed is it seemed like both Thibodeau and the players, especially Thibodeau and Julius, were taking out their frustrations from the Philly game on Washington, which I guess is a good thing because we ended up, like I said, blowing them out. The defense last night that got us that big lead was tremendous. The defense was you could really see, and that's again the difference between the game I saw last year in March and this game. You can see that the Knicks were outclassing Washington. Washington wasn't as thorough on their execution. They weren't as thorough on their defense. They weren't as thorough on their passing. And the Knicks, in the beginning of this game, first 2 quarters, taking full advantage of that. And I like to see that. That's very good. So, as a team, we won the game and we're glad we won the game. Obviously, we got to blow out. We like blowouts because it makes it easy. We got to win. Knicks are back at 500. There is a 3-way tie. There's a 3-way tie for the 5th seed right now. I think it's the Knicks, Charlotte, it's a 3-way tie between the Knicks, Charlotte. I'll tell you right now. It's a 3-way tie between the Knicks, Charlotte, and a couple of other teams. Let's see here. Let's take a standings here. The Knicks, Miami, and Charlotte are all, actually, it's the Knicks and Miami tied, right? No, Knicks, Miami, and Charlotte. Yes, Knicks, Miami, and Charlotte are all 500 right now. So there's a 3-way tie for the 5th seed. They're a half a game, all 3 are a half a game behind Atlanta, who's the 4th seed. It's a dogfight in the East, man. And that's good. It's a dogfight in the East. But there's a big drop off between the first 3 in the East and then that next 5. So Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee are comfortably in the top 3 seeds. They're between 2 games of each other. And then there's a 6.5 game spread between the 3rd seed and now the 4th seed Atlanta. So they've separated themselves. And then between Atlanta and the 8th spot, Boston, there's only a game separating 4 through 8. That's amazing. There's only a game. Boston is basically a half game behind us, Miami and Charlotte. and they're just a game behind Atlanta for the 4th spot. So that's gonna be jockeying back and forth for position, and this is where the conditioning of the Knicks come in, because at this point, because of their conditioning, because of the development of playing tough games like this, I'm expecting the Knicks to really be thorough, to be consistent, to learn from their mistakes, like mistake last night, slacking off, and to really finish strong this season. I'm not expecting them to go on a long losing streak or for it to collapse. They should finish strong, and that means, to me, finishing strong to me means at least closing out the season, playing 500 ball the rest of the way, maybe a little better if they're really on their game, a little better. Which brings me to my next point, which is really even more than the game. I mean, we got a game tomorrow against Washington at home again, but okay, we gotta take care of that business. Trade deadline. Generally speaking, in the NBA, at the trade deadline, there's a big hint when people are going to be traded. They don't play. Like a game or two before the trade deadline, you will see them either, the minutes diminish or not play at all. And the reason is because if they're going to be traded, the team that's receiving them doesn't want them hurt. The deal might not go through. So you don't want to get it, you don't want to take a chance if you're trading a player that they might get hurt, and then your deal is sunk because they got hurt, right? And so you don't play them. So last night, it was 16 minutes into the game. So they played the whole first quarter and just about half the second quarter, and Frank Ntilikina hadn't gotten back in the game. They kept putting Elfrid Payton in the game, and he looked like he was still hurt. He looked like his hammy was not 100%. Derrick Rose on the sideline. So they played a lot of Alec Burke at the point guard with Emmanuel Quickly last night. And so I was like, oh, shoot. Okay, because we talked about this, a couple of days ago where, you're going to see if the Knicks intend on re-signing Frank, because if they don't intend on re-signing him, they're going to have to trade him because he's a restricted free agent. You don't want to give him up for nothing. He was a lottery pick. No matter what you think about him, he was a lottery pick. You don't want to give him up for nothing if you're the Knicks. You want to get something for him. So that means they're not going to let him hit free agency. They're going to try to trade him and get something for him. So he played very little. Then they did put him in the game at garbage time. He came in like end of the third quarter. He played in the fourth quarter. He only played a total of 10 minutes last night. Okay. And I can tell by his body language. To me, he looked like a player that knew this was his last game in the Knicks uniform. He did look like that. Okay. And so this is the first time that I noticed in his 4 years. And again, he's my favorite Knick. So I'm watching and I noticed he didn't look like himself. He didn't score. That's not surprising. He was passing the ball. He was giving up shots. That's not surprising. He played decent defense, but there was something missing there. It looked to me, especially at the end of the game, when the buzzer sounded, his head was down. I thought to myself, that looks like a player that might realize this is his last game in the Knick uniform. Okay. So I'm thinking they're going to trade Frank. Also, last night, Lonzo Ball did not play. Now, they might say he's hurt or whatever. They normally do that at this time. But he did not play when New Orleans played the Lakers last night. He did not play. Okay? Lonzo Ball did not play. Now, my thought was that the Knicks are looking at either Orlando or New Orleans. And the reason I said Orlando is because of Evan Fournier. The Knicks... And I'm not saying Evan Fournier is a superstar or anything like that, but he can shoot the ball. He's a good 3-point shooter. And they might want to add shooting. The question is, how much is he going to cost? That's the whole question with some of these things. How much are these guys going to cost? So I'm thinking Frank would go there for Evan Fournier. And they might send, but they would have normally sent Austin Rivers too in a situation like that, but they're trying to do right by him. So they're not going to give him to a lottery team. They want him either buy him out or get him to a playoff team. So Frank and somebody else. And the thing is, last night, now people from other cities generally don't follow the Knicks. They don't know what we're doing. They don't know us like Knicks Nation does, who follows them. But last night, because it's a Washington game and I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, I could not get this game on NBA.com, where I'd like to hear Clyde and Mike Breen, because It was a local game, it was blacked out. So I had to watch it on the Washington Wizards channel, the local Washington channel. And they didn't mention Frank at all. They kept mentioning Obi Toppin as a trade piece. Now, I can understand if they traded Obi, being that they drafted him to play the 4, and nobody knew that Julius Randle was going to become like this. Nobody knew that. Okay. And so, including the Knicks. So they drafted Obi at the 4, intending for him to be groomed to take over the 4 spot. But now you got a 26-year-old Julius Randle, all-star, on the verge of being all NBA. Obi's not going to get the time he needs. He's not going to get it. And see, the problem and the difference is like this. If you drafted a guy out of college at the 4 spot that was 18, 19, 20. Okay, he's going to need time to develop. Obi's 23. He needs to play minutes now, and he's not going to get them. And as much as I hate drafting players and then trading them, I'm thinking they may pull the trigger on that. So that brings me to, and again, if you're going to send Obi and Frank to New Orleans for Evan Fournier, it makes perfect sense because Aaron Gordon is out. He's not going to be in the Orlando uniform after the trade deadline. Aaron Gordon is out. Jonathan Isaac, their starting 4, is out for the year. Okay. They're looking to clean house and start over. They got 2 young guards in Cole Anthony, okay, and Markelle Fultz. So Frank would fit perfect in that. And he's the best defender out of those 3, obviously. So he would fit perfect in that little rotation. And then they would need, they're going to get rid of Evan Fournier too. Okay. They're going to get rid of all these guys and they're going to blow it up and start over. That's what the Magic going to do. And I don't blame them because they're lottery bound. They have an opportunity to get Kuminga, to get Suggs, to get K. They got an opportunity to do that. So, I would do that too. So they're going to blow this up. I'm not sure how they're going to get rid of Vucevic because, he's another guy. He's a really good player, but he's not in that timeline. So I can see a Magic deal coming if the Knicks wanted. That's another question. If the Knicks wanted Evan Fournier, I can see a Magic deal coming. Now, with regard to New Orleans, all of us in Knicks Nation understand Lonzo Ball wants to come to the Knicks. We could get him in the restricted free agency. We could put together a contract. Even if you don't think he's worth $24 million, I don't think New Orleans thinks he's worth more than 17. And that's really probably true. But the Knicks will pay more because we got the money. It ain't going to even hurt us going forward. So, we're going to get Lonzo Ball. So David Griffin is losing his leverage by the day. He really is. He might try to do a sign and trade, but that's risky too. If the Knicks do a poison pill type of contract with Lonzo Ball, he's going to lose his leverage. So he's going to try to get something now, whatever he can get for Lonzo. If the Knicks offer Frank and or Obi and the Detroit second, I wouldn't give him no first round picks. The Detroit second, that might get that done. Okay. Apparently the word is that they've already turned down the Chicago offer, where Chicago was offering Satoransky. And I kind of understand that. What they need Satoransky for? I mean, he's all right, but nah. So they want young players. That's what they would want, because they're also building. Frank is a, really good defender, obviously high level premier defender. And then this would give him court time. Obi also. But although I think Obi would get more court time this year, both of them with Orlando, because Orlando's depleted. They're cleaning the house. They could use this last 20 games to really play some ball for them and see what they could do. So I'm thinking Frank is going to be gone this week. And there's a possibility that Obi would too. Now, I don't know if Obi's ready for that. Even though Obi's older than a guy like Frank, Frank is more of a veteran, crazy as that sounds, than Obi. That might break Obi's heart, man, being sent from the Knicks. He wanted to come to the Knicks. But Frank's been in trade rumors every year, so he's used to it. And then, of course, there's always possibility of other teams. Toronto is trying to unload, which they should. They're trying to unload Kyle Lowry, which they should. they're trying to unload Norman Powell, which I'm surprised about. And Pascal Siakam's giving them attitude problems now. So they looking like, they're probably going to try to preserve Pascal if they can and start with Pascal and OG Anunoby. And then I don't know why they would trade Norman Powell though. I don't understand why they would trade him. He's a good chip to start with the other guys. But anyway, so if they're looking to trade those guys and build around Fred VanVleet, that's another opportunity that the Knicks might get. I could see them getting a Norman Powell for Frank and Obi, or for Frank. I could see that happening too, because Frank fits with the rebuilding timeline. I liked Malachi. Y'all know we like Malachi Martin. Malachi Flynn. Sorry, we like Malachi Flynn in the draft. I still like Malachi Flynn. I still think he's going to be one of the best guards to come out of that draft. And you pair him with a Frank and with Fred VanVleet, you're going to get something there too. So I think there's a very high, I think there's an 80% possibility Frank is not going to be the Knick after this week. I'd be really shocked if he's still in the Knick uniform after Thursday. But there's also a possibility that Obi would be gone too. I'm not sure how they're going to use Austin Rivers. Like I said, they're going to try to get him to a playoff team. So if the playoff teams don't trade for him, they could, the Knicks would buy him out and he can go and join any playoff team he wants. So I think that's probably the way that'll go. Kevin Knox is probably going to still be a Knick because he's a Kentucky guy. I know that sounds crazy, but they're not getting rid of no Kentucky guys, especially now that both Kenny Payne apparently and Mike Woodson are being approached for head coaching jobs. Now, both of them are being approached for college jobs. Mike Woodson at his alma mater in Indiana, and I think Kenny Payne is being approached by DePaul in Chicago. Now, I hope they don't take those jobs. I mean, they're in the league, man, and especially Woodson. He's already proven to be a really good head coach in the NBA. I'd like to see him get another shot at it, and I think Kenny Payne would be a good coach in the NBA. So for selfish reasons, obviously they're both on the Knicks staff. They're already trying to they're not even our first season, and they're trying to poach our coaches already. You see how they treat us? But because Kenny Payne's a Kentucky guy, they got this. They're not getting rid of Kevin Knox right now. They're gonna let Kevin Knox. They're gonna keep Kevin Knox, I think. So, yeah, there's all of this, and so if the Knicks can swing a deal with the Pels for Lonzo, I can see them trying to do that, but they don't have to. They could wait into the off season. But yeah, I could see New Orleans getting Frank and or Obi or Frank and the Detroit second rounder, which is a high second rounder, low. It's really a late first when you're talking about Detroit. But yeah, I'm kind of sad because Frank is my man. But realistically, I saw last night. It looked like to me a trade is in the offing. It looks like they got something working already. Other than that, I mean, our young core now would be Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quickley. Kevin Knox would technically still be there. Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Mitchell Robinson. If they traded Obi, that would be our young core, and then Kevin Knox would still be there. It looks to me, one more thing, that because of the fast tracking of our rebuild, the Knicks really are not looking to add any more young pieces. They're looking to add established pieces and to develop the young pieces they have. It looks like that's what they're trying to do. If that's the case, and they add a guy like Alonzo, who's still in his early 20s, 23 or something like that, that fits the timeline and would be ready to go to next season. Now, the interesting thing is in 2022, there's some interesting names that are going to be free agents, unrestricted. One of them is Zach LaVine. He'll be unrestricted in 2022. Okay. There was a couple of guys. One was Zach LaVine, and there was a couple of other ones that I was like, oh shoot, these guys are going to be available next year. And not only that, not only are they going to be, I'm going to look at the list now. Not only are they going to be available, but we're going to have the money to sign them. And that's what I'm saying. They will be saving that money for 2022. That's when you want to make your big hit. Yeah, so next year, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I'm not interested in either because of age or, past prime, like Westbrook, Harden, Wall. They're all going to be free agents next year. Stephen Curry's going to be a free agent next year. Where they all have player options or they can be free agents. Now, Bradley Beal is going to have a player option. He's 29. He'd be the one guy we'd be talking about if we were going to do it. But I don't know. I don't know what Bradley Beal's going to do. Jimmy Butler, no. Kemba Walker, no. Kawhi Leonard is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. Drew Holiday is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. Zach LaVine is going to be unrestricted free agent in 2022. Okay? These players are interesting because, TJ Warren, he's 29, he'll be 30, and he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. TJ Warren he can light it up, man. He can light it up. So Robert Covington, which is a Tibbs favorite, be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. And these guys, Covington and Warren, are not going to be anywhere near max players. We could get them. We wouldn't have to use all our $30 million to get them. Okay. So yeah, there's some very interesting players that are going to be available that if we develop the core that we have, which we will, and we might add a piece like Alonzo, and then we might get another piece between the draft picks we got this year, or 3 with the Detroit. Either we're going to add a very good young player, at least one, or we're going to turn that into a player. So Lonzo might be part of the Detroit pick, and then we got 2 more. We don't know. We might be able to turn that into another good player. So we have very good opportunities. So a Kawhi Leonard, a Zach LaVine, Drew Holiday, even though he's older, he's 32. I wouldn't give him a whole bunch of money, but he'll be available. Terry Rozier, he's 28, he'll be 29. Scary Terry playing his butt off. He's been doing that for Charlotte, but now he's really showing out. And obviously they tied with us for the 5th seed. So with him and Lonzo, they doing work. And then, you got guys, like I said, like, who else? TJ Warren. I'm very high on TJ Warren. He's a scorer. He's a scoring machine, man. He could get it going. He's hurt now, but he would be available. Covington's a defender of a high level defender, all NBA defender. He would be available. Josh Richardson in Dallas would be available. All of these guys are unrestricted, next year. And so there's some good, interesting pieces that we might be able to get that, that will help us get to that next level next year. Okay. So yeah, we're going to see what happens, but that's what I'm saying. That's why you save your money so that, you do what you do this year. We're going to pay Mitchell Robinson. We're going to pay, Lonzo. Wait till after next season in the summer, after we get the free agent to sign Julius. And now you add a piece. Imagine adding a Kawhi Leonard or a Zach LaVine, and RJ is going to be that much better next year. Matter of fact, Norman Powell also, another. There's some very interesting names. None of these, or Kawhi, but aside from Kawhi, none of these guys are now at the top 5 of their positions in the NBA. But they're all like in top 20. I would say Zach LaVine is top 25 in the NBA. So you get players like that. So the Knicks are onto some good things. I think it's a smart move. Now that we have accelerated the development, to start looking at some players in that range, that mid-20s, burgeoning on their prime type of range, maybe a little past that, where we can get them. And then now you have the core pieces. You can add one of these guys. You got your point guard. We don't really need a whole bunch of more young guys. We got the young guys we need. When you're talking about Manuel Quickly, Mitchell Robinson, you're talking about even Kevin Knox would be the baby that we have there. And then you have, RJ, of course. RJ is going to be a star. He's going to be a stud. Mitchell Robinson showed last night. To me, it was night and day. And I'm not saying Nerlens Noel playing very well for us, but just how good Mitchell Robinson is. The first game, he was bumbling some balls. He was rusty. But this game, he was doing what he normally does. He was killing inside. And so, yeah, so we're going to have a nice squad. And so, we're on the verge right now. So I can see them trying to pull the trigger and getting Alonzo now if they can get him at the right price. We can get him either way. But if we get him for a Frank and something else right now, okay. I can see them trading in Obi just to give Obi more of an opportunity. Obi is not going to get no minutes now. He's just not. And it's hard for him to develop if he's not getting minutes. The guy like this is 23 years old. You want to play him. Look at, there's a guy in Phoenix. They drafted a guy like was old like that. That was a 4-year player. And they gave him a lot of minutes, and he was very effective for them when they played in the bubble last year. What was this cat, man? He was very effective when they played in the bubble last year. Let me get Phoenix up here for a second. And I think he's playing a major role from now. Guys that are older like that, you got to give him time. You got to give him minutes. Cam Johnson, yeah, he played 18 minutes last night. Cam Johnson, he's like 24 now, so you got to give him minutes. They did that from last year, and he played very well in the bubble. That's what you need from Obi. Obi needs minutes, man. He's not getting them right now. 8 and 10 minutes ain't going to cut it. He needs 15, 20, 30 minutes to get his legs loose. I mean, he's going to be in his prime before the end of his rookie contract. So you gotta get him going. So if I'm Obi's people, much as he likes New York, I'm going to tell him, if they're looking to put you on Orlando or someplace where you're going to get minutes, take advantage of it. Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm sorry you got to leave New York, but do what you got to do. Okay? Because he has to get minutes. He's not going to develop behind Julius Randle. He's not that type of guy. He doesn't want to be a career backup. He doesn't. Okay, so I think we can get something for him. Much as I hate the idea of trading our lottery picks. I really do, especially when we're rebuilding. But again, who knew we were going to be this good this soon? Like, we in Knick Nation knew our defense was going to be good. I told you, I was looking for 31 wins. And now I know we're going to exceed that. We're going to exceed 31 wins. We're going to do pretty well. I'm looking for us now at 36. I'm thinking we can get 500 out of this thing. Okay. Which is world beating compared to last year, 21 wins. Yeah. So, anyway, here we go. Next up is Washington again. We got to handle this business. Don't let down. I don't even want to see no close game. They should come out, execute, do what they got to do, play 48 minutes of basketball. That's what we need to do. Y'all have a good day. Be safe out there. Shalom.